going to bring in Congressman Andy Biggs. He represents Arizona's 5th Congressional District. You know him also as a member of the House Judiciary and Oversight Committees. Congressman, great to have you with us, sir.
Vince, thanks for having me. Good to be with you.
Why are we just finding out that Jack Smith's team was meeting with the White House ahead of their indictments?
Well, it's something that we expected. We think this is all coordinated, and they're dripping it out and trying to drag this thing out to distract from President Biden's problems. But we're just finding out because there's just so much to find out, and they're withholding information. It's been we're trying to pull teeth to get this information out. They've put up roadblocks. They put up speed sticks on all kinds of information that we've been trying to get. And don't forget, that's consistent with them actually denying the existence of certain documentary evidence. And then when a whistleblower comes out or a leaker comes out or we actually have the document, then they have to fess up. That's kind of what this is. It's like, well, oh no, we're not coordinating. This is not a coordinated effort, but it is. All of this, whether it's Bragg in New York or Willis down in Georgia, they're all talking to each other. Guarantee you. Because it's a political event. This is a politically motivated prosecution. That's why they're all talking to each other.
And the events in question are all alleged to have taken mostly in the year 2020 or in early 2021. And somehow we're ending up with a bunch of trials that are scheduled for the middle of 2024. How does that happen? I mean, today you get an announcement from Judge Tanya Chutkin that the trial for Trump's efforts to allegedly overturn the 2020 election, that starts March 4th. That's the day before Super Tuesday. You've got a March 25th date for the Manhattan trial involving Alvin Bragg. You have a May 20th date that's set for the documents dispute trial in Florida, all in 2024. Not a coincidence, Congressman.
No, it's not a coincidence. And they keep saying, hey, this has nothing to – we're not trying to interfere with the election. We're not trying to put a spin or political biased prosecution right there in the heart of the electoral season of 2024 with the front runner of the Republican Party. That's all. Let's call it what it is. It's just BS. This is being done deliberately to prolong and attack Donald Trump. And quite frankly, Vince, I think the vast majority of American people who I still believe are center right, they look at this and they say, how did this happen where our government became so weaponized? And they don't buy it. And it's going to backfire, I think, against them. I hope it does.
Yeah, I really do. I mean, an example of that is the decision by Fani Willis down in Georgia to take a mugshot of the 45th president of the United States. First of all, the mugshot is typically so that you can establish somebody's identity in case they run. There's no need for a mugshot of one of, if not the most photographed living human being, but whatever. They did a mugshot. They thought they'd embarrass him, and instead all they did was raise a ton of money for his campaign and legal defense.
Yeah, well, not only that. People that were going to support him, now they're supporting him. They realize this is a railroad job, that this is all a politicized, weaponized prosecution. But, I mean, you're exactly right. The purpose of a mugshot is so you can put it out there if you need to try to track somebody down. This guy, President Trump, is the most famous person from the Antarctic to the North Pole. Everybody knows who he is. There's not a backward village in China that doesn't know who Donald Trump is. So it was done for, again, political embarrassment, and it always seems to backfire. Because you know why? They're so crazy left that they don't understand how most normal people think. Most normal people think, yeah, you don't need to do that. That's just too much. That's just being belittling, condescending, and you're gloating. You've got your indictment, and now you're going to rub it in his face. Shame on you. And that's what I think we saw. It was a big shame on you moment against Fani Willis.
Let's talk more about Fani Willis. You have a new piece of legislation that you are introducing called the WILLIS ACT. How about that? Tell us about this.
Well, we found out when Bragg, District Attorney Bragg in New York, brought his indictments that he had used federal grant money to investigate and go after Donald Trump. Well, that's not appropriate. And so that's what this bill does. It says We want everything back, all the federal dollars back, all the grants that you got. We want them back because we're not going to allow you, since we know that you abuse your power and authority and you do it for political reasons. We're not going to let you keep that money. We want it back. That's the nub of that bill.
I know that the Judiciary Committee under the chairmanship of Jim Jordan is also demanding answers from Fani Willis about her decision to go, in this obviously political prosecution, go after Trump. What could the House Judiciary Committee learn? What kind of questions are you asking?
Well, same thing. We want to know about the money. We want to know about coordination. We want to know what authority that she thinks she has, and we just are trying to figure out what the nexus is to the alleged crime, and if she's abusing any type of federal civil rights. And she most likely is, and since the 14th Amendment applies to the states, there's some rights there that she needs to be looking out to protect instead of abrogate. And so we're trying to find out those types of things. And I think, we found out some stuff in responses from, not necessarily from Bragg, but from people around Bragg, that there's some problems. And I think that all of this stuff, as it moves forward, when I say stuff, I'm talking about these various indictments and going against Donald Trump, we'll find out more and more about, quite frankly, the corruption of those who have power and begin to abuse it, and not just abuse the power, but abuse it for political purposes. That isn't what we've done in America historically, and yet here we are today. And it's never been more patently obvious that we have major problems in that area.
Congressman Andy Biggs, on that point, let's shift over to Biden family corruption. Over the weekend, Fox's Brian Kilmeade aired an interview with the long ago fired now Ukrainian prosecutor Viktor Shokin. We haven't heard from him in a long time, and here's what he had to say about Burisma and the Bidens.
Were they up to doing something corrupt with Burisma? Was the company of Burisma corrupt, as been alleged, in which since has been disbanded?
I have no doubt that there were illegal activities engaged in by Burisma. As a matter of fact, the criminal case had been started before me. It continued to expand, and Zlochevsky, who at the time held the post of minister and was the founder and CEO of Burisma, started bringing in people who could provide protection for him. Hunter Biden was among them. And the corruption network expanded as a result. So, yes, to answer your question, there's no doubt in my mind that Burisma was engaged in illegal activities.
Congressman, what do you make of Viktor Shokin going public with these claims, and how much weight does it add to the urgency of your investigation?
Well, I wish we could get Viktor Shokin to actually come in and testify before the Judiciary and the Oversight Committee. But what it does is it actually it undercuts the very defense that the Biden defenders are using. So, like Joe Biden says, well, we wanted him fired because we wanted them to clean up, and they wanted them to clean up that corrupt country of Ukraine. Well, Shokin was actually investigating Burisma, and he believes that there was bribery to Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, and also he mentions protection. Well, that's exactly what Hunter Biden was peddling with Devon Archer to places like Burisma and other places around the world. So that's what was going on with Burisma. They needed protection because they wanted to expand in the U.S. They wanted to expand in the EU. So they also hired an official from the EU who could try to bury their Burisma's problems, just like they thought Hunter Biden would bury their problems. And sure enough, Obama said it well about Joe Biden. He said Joe Biden screws everything up. Well, Joe Biden actually can never keep his mouth closed. And in an interview, he actually said that he held Ukraine hostage to fire Shokin, $1 billion of U.S. taxpayer money. Now, as Shokin said in that interview, he said, that seems corrupt on its face. And I agree with him. That is corruption on its face. There was no authority for Joe Biden to do that. And he provided the protection. And in the FBI documents that we have, they're corroborated by Shokin's statement right there.
Yes.
Where the CEO of Burisma says, "Hey, look, I gave $5 million to Joe, $5 million to Hunter, and we had a quid pro quo. I hired them because I needed to be protected because we wanted to expand to the U.S. and we were being investigated and we couldn't expand."
There was a Fox News report over the weekend as well that Hunter Biden's former business partner, Devin Archer, actually met with then Secretary of State John Kerry. Remember, Devin Archer was a Burisma board member. He met with John Kerry just weeks before Viktor Shokin was fired in 2016. So the intersections keep on becoming more and more public here.
Yeah, and don't forget that John Kerry's stepson, Chris Hines, was actually a partner of Devin Archer and Hunter Biden at various times. My guess is at some point, even Chris Hines realized these guys were heading down the wrong road, and he pulled back out of it at some point. But certainly, you see more and more of visits to the White House, visits to the Vice President's office. Yeah. For a guy who didn't know anything about the business, Joe Biden sure seemed to know a lot about the business and be heavily involved.
Let me ask you finally, Congressman Andy Biggs, and always grateful for your time, about the Speaker, Kevin McCarthy. He was on television this weekend once again suggesting that we might be arriving at a point in which we should have an impeachment inquiry going on in the House. He says the argument for an impeachment inquiry is that it would give the House the apex of the investigative tools that it needs to conduct this investigation into the Bidens. Look, I like hearing him say the impeachment word, but it strikes me that he's said this a lot about a variety of people, including Alejandro Mayorkas. He's floated this idea that maybe we'll impeach him. Do you believe him? Is this actually moving to an impeachment? And would an impeachment actually make a difference in terms of your investigative power?
Well, the impeachment inquiry would actually give you more status with a court if you needed to enforce various subpoenas and that type of thing. So that's important. But you asked me, do I believe him? And I always answer you straight. This is the same guy who told us we were going to have 12 appropriations bills done and over to the Senate so that they could get their work done before the end of September. Well, that ain't going to happen. And, so there's a lot of reasons for me to have doubt that he's really moving this way, especially not the least of which that he's already said, well, we're getting close to impeachment inquiry, but he dances around it. It's long overdue. It is long overdue. People like myself have been calling for this for a long time. I felt that we had enough on Joe Biden a long, long time ago. Just on how he's mishandled the border, and it isn't mishandling. He has deliberately obliterated our sovereign authority by killing our border. We don't have a border anymore. I can go down there. I'd love to take you down with me sometime, Vince, and just show you why we don't have a border. But the reality is, it is long overdue, and I continue to urge Speaker McCarthy to not dance around any longer. Let's go forward with this because it's what the American people need. It's what the American people expect. And by golly, it's long overdue. If we're gonna get a pendulum back to equilibrium where we have an honest government, then this has to be done, in my opinion.
And if he doesn't do it, is it a lack of will or a lack of support in the Republican conference?
It's probably a little of both. Probably, maybe a lot of lack of will. A lot of lack of will. I don't know. There's a lack of will there, but also I know that we have some of our members who are very skittish about it.
Yeah. Congressman Andy Biggs, thanks for always shooting straight, as you mentioned, and we'll definitely want to take you up on that border visit at some point.